Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our session. Thanks a lot for turning up. I know it's an after lunch session, so we'll try our best to make it more entertaining, and we'll have a lot of question and interaction with you guys. And I hope the party was good yesterday. You had a great time? Nice. So today I'm excited to present this session with my friend and colleague who has been in Tableau from the last 6 years. Before Tableau, he was a champion like you guys in Cisco. In Tableau, he's helping some of the largest customers documenting value out of their Tableau deployment. He comes from a town in India which has a viz in it. It's called Vizag. And the fun fact about him is that he loves cricket. So cricket is like a religion in India. So everyone, please welcome Sudarshan Sirapu.
Thank you, Sagar. That was a wonderful introduction. Welcome, everyone. I hope you had a great time last night and as well as the entire week. I'm so delighted to be in front of you. Actually, we are presenting this for the second time. We did present yesterday as well. And so glad you're all here. And I'm so glad to present with my friend and colleague at Tableau. He's been working at Tableau for last 1 year, and he supports some of the strategic accounts in India. And he's been a great advocate for Tableau. And a fun fact about him is he's a bookworm. He reads a ton of books, which is great. But he's also very passionate to help the community. So he runs one of the communities in India called Viz Connect. It's actually open for anybody, just that the time doesn't work, so I've never joined. He does it at 4 a.m. my time, so I can't do. But he is very, very passionate about the community. So please welcome Sagar.
Thank you for that, Sudarshan. So today I want to talk about data and data-driven culture. The importance of data is no longer a topic of debate. Do you agree with me, Sudarshan? And organizations are not able to document value out of their Tableau deployment?
I do. Actually, in fact, data is more precious than oil. That's what the new saying, right? It's more precious than oil. And I'm so glad I'm working for Tableau. And people actually are using data to drive insights for the organization to become data-driven. And companies who have done that are more successful than others. So I completely agree. But, there was a recent survey done by McKinsey, and they have actually surveyed around 1,000 customers with 1 billion revenue, and they found some interesting facts from there. They found that 92% of the companies are unable to scale analytics, even though they have provided self-service analytics and everything empowering the users, but still they fail. And one of the prime reasons they found out of this research was that they were not having a good strategy to document value. And that is a reason why we are here to talk about that.
So are you saying that just 8% of the companies are successful? I wonder what these 8% are doing right, what the 92% are not able to understand. And will we discuss this particular problem in our topic today?
Absolutely. We're going to talk about every single detail about how we can actually document the value. But before we go to the details, I want to ask everyone in the room to think about what really value means, right? It could be, I think value could be in different forms. It could be a financial ROI. Most of the people always think about financial ROI. That's the value. But it could be non-financial ROI as well, like things like cost savings or productivity or performance gains, things like that. Don't think about value, my business team is never going to give me what ROI they're getting because they feel that once they give their financial numbers, then they're going to lose some funding for the next quarters, things like that. And that is the reason why we always end up not getting a ROI statement. But you can explain them that I'm not really looking for financial ROI all the time, but could be a non-financial ROI as well, which is going to be useful for me to document and showcase the value. So we're going to go deep into each one of these topics. So let's look at
the one thing, which, just to add what Sudarshan said, if you're thinking about value, always make sure that it is measurable. Let's go ahead and discuss what you will learn today.
So let's look at our agenda for today and what you can learn from this session. So let's begin with our first pillar, which is defining value. And then we identify, and then we capture, and then we measure, and finally we communicate, the most important one. And these 5 pillars of value, we have to make sure we educate ourselves and try to do this and document it so that we can become a data-driven organization as well. So looking at the first pillar, Sagar, what do you really mean by defining value?
I want everyone present in the room to think about the mission statement you guys had when you were evaluating Tableau. Like for some organizations, it can be creating data citizen scientists, or it can be about saving your business team from drowning in data or starving from insights. Let's learn how you guys can go ahead and define value now. It can be with respect to productivity, the impact it has to your business, making your business users spending more time on decision making rather than finding insights. Let me give you an example over here. I was working in my previous organization, and my vice president of a particular department, he had an ad hoc question, and they were using Excel that time. So the process was that the VP will ask a question, it will go to a hierarchy, and then it will get answered. You can understand the VP is just waiting for his answers right now, and it wastes a lot of time for him. It takes 2 and 3 hours just to answer a simple question. But when they went ahead and implemented Tableau, the VP was able to go ahead and answer all his ad hoc questions just through a simple dashboard. So you have to keep in mind with respect to productivity when you're talking about what impact it has to your business.
Product usage. Product usage is one of the key things that you should be able to define, because you have to use the data to drive the decisions for your organization, but also you have to make your organization think that based on the data, you should be making the decisions rather than using intuition. So I have worked with many customers, but one of the stories I can think about, the way they use product usage, is when they had a problem, they tried to actually solve that in the form of a hackathon. So this company, what they did was they went to the executives and asked them, like, hey, what are your top 3 goals for the year and what do you want to solve? And they collected all these goals from the leadership and created these as hackathon topics. And they gave the teams to go and pick any topic from that and create like pods so they can go and work on those use cases. And what they found was that some of the things that they were not expecting, it's like almost like unknown of the unknowns. They were not even expecting that kind of a results, and they were losing revenue in one of the areas like supply chain area, where they were giving rebates across the world, and they were not taking tax consideration that actually applies in different countries. Because of that, they were actually losing a lot of revenue. So once they started building Tableau dashboard, they applied those rules, and they can see the global view in a map, and they applied those tax rules there. And then suddenly, they were actually saving a lot of money on rebates. And that process, they documented. So they started believing in the product itself. Like earlier, they were all Excel-based, and they were all, numbers that are hard-coded in the PowerPoint slide. And once they started using data to drive that, they were able to uncover stuff. So they started preaching people like, okay, let's now start using the product and find the insights rather than using static PowerPoint decks. So
the next way you can go ahead and define value is about production performance gain. Just think about, it's all about the efficiency it increases with respect to your business. It can be in terms of your production, sales, and delivery. Let me give you an example with respect to that. So I was working with this manufacturing company, so just to go ahead and understand the performance gain, what they did, they basically created a war room. In that particular war room, they had Tableau dashboards just to understand the impact it has to their business. So that can be a great way to go ahead and define value with respect to a performance gain.
Lastly, but not the least, cost savings. Cost savings is very critical for your company's operation. Obviously, there are multiple ways to optimize your deployment in such a way that you can actually save cost. But in my scenario, I actually worked at a customer where they have several BI platforms, not just Tableau. And I know many of you in this room must be working on different platforms other than Tableau as well, and that's fair enough because you cannot solve the world problems with Tableau. Tableau is not the only BI platform to solve every single problem. Otherwise, we will be the only company, right? So in this particular scenario, what happened was Tableau was introduced as a BI platform, and they started finding out what are some of the use cases that Tableau is strong, and they started using it. And as the usage of Tableau is increasing, they found that the usage of other platforms were coming down because they were using other platforms before Tableau came in. And the CIO started questioning the IT team, like, what are we doing with these platforms where the usage is actually almost negligible? And are we still paying for this support, maintenance, and infrastructure and all that? Or are we going to consolidate these applications? And the IT team was quick to react, and slowly, they didn't just stop all the other platforms, but they were slowly thinking about like questioning, sending a survey to the business team and finding out, are they really going to need these platforms anymore? And they found that most of the platforms are not getting used. So they have consolidated all the infrastructure, and they saved a ton of money. So I think cost savings is one thing that can actually drive a lot of change. Like, it's a mindset change as well. Once you change that mindset, I think you can actually add value to your company. So that's one example I can give. But before I actually go deep into our next pillars, I also want to call out the BI strategy that actually McKinsey, when they did the survey, they found the primary reason was that there was not a proper strategy in place to document value. And most companies, they define BI strategy, but they fail to revisit the strategy when new platforms come into the ecosystem. They fail to revisit the BI strategy and put them in places where the business users will be able to use it. So in this case, I'm showing a quadrant where you can actually divide the strategy into 4 different sections, like the discovery, experimentation area, ad hoc, or enterprise dashboarding, and data preparation areas. So since we are in Tableau conference, I'm going to take example of Tableau, but you might have several different platforms, and they can fall under each of those buckets. So if you look at discovery and experimentation area here, Tableau desktop could be given to the business users to go explore, discover, and experiment with the data before even going and building dashboards and collaborating with the broader community. You would want them to learn the tool, discover data, and if they're getting insights or not. So you can place that in that bucket. And as we progress, like as the maturity of analytics goes to the next level, we go to ad hoc area, where you can be publishing some published data sources on the Tableau server, which are governed and curated data sources, so that many users can go and start using and building their own visualizations without having to worry about whether this data source is coming from Teradata or HANA. They don't have to care about it. So there is proper governance also around it. So they can do ad hoc analysis right from the browser, which is called web authoring in Tableau. They can use that. Or if you go to the next level, which is enterprise-wide dashboarding, where the Tableau server environment can have all these dashboards which are already certified with data sources, and it can already provide insights to a broader community, not just for yourself, because you're the analyst, you have done that on the desktop, but then when you publish to the Tableau server, it's going to help a lot more people to answer questions. So you can use there. And then our newest baby, how many of you heard Tableau Prep? That's awesome. I think most of you know about Prep. So Tableau Prep can be also used for preparing your data sources upfront before they can get published to the server, and then users can go start using the data sources for building the dashboards. So if we once we have this BI strategy in place, I would recommend everybody in the room to go revisit at least every 2 years or every 5 years, like 2 to 5 years, there has to be a revisit of this strategy to make sure at that given time what BI platforms exist in your company. And then place them into each of those buckets so that when your business users come to you with any requirements, you can actually point them out to the right use case and the right platform to use for that particular use case. I think this planning exercise is the key for your success to be able to become a data-driven organization.
That's a great advice. And the best part is that you should not define the BI strategy, you should go ahead and revisit it. So we went back to our customers who are successful in growing analytics at scale. And what we found that there are 3 core capabilities which are making them successful to define value. The first one is agility with respect to their environment. So they are making sure with respect to their Tableau deployment, they are following all the best practices. They have a proper monitoring mechanism with respect to their application. And the last part, it comes with respect to the maintenance of the hardware. The next comes with respect to the proficiency. Proficiency with respect to the users. They make sure they have a good education program for each and every individual in an organization. They are going ahead and measuring the value out of their Tableau environment. And the last part comes about the analytics best practices that each and individual is following in the company. And the last part, the most important pillar of this is community. You know about the Tableau community, right? I don't have to say anything about that. It's awesome. I think we all have learned from them. So connecting to the right people, that's the most important thing in Tableau community, right? You have to connect to the right people, understand from them, learn from them. The next part comes with respect to support. If someone in your organization is not able to solve something or stuck something, you have to have a proper mechanism so that you can go ahead and solve them. And the last term is all about connecting all people by conducting Tableau days, your Viz games, and things like that. But the best part is that you should have a trusted governance system to have all these 3 core capabilities.
That's wonderful, Sagar. You have given us some intro into what we're going to showcase, and this is the main essence of this today's session. And I want to call out, how many of you in the room knows what is Blueprint? Thank you. I think many of you attended the Blueprint sessions, looks like. That is very good, so I don't have to speak too much about it, but then I just want to call out what is really Blueprint means. It's a tool, it's a framework that Tableau has developed to make sure we can actually guide people to say that, you know, the core capabilities you can turn the repeatable process into, and make sure you follow this path like of analytics strategy with a right governance and right agility and proficiency and community. And if you actually take your use case, like you can be coming from different parts of the company and different business fields, and you can apply this anywhere. Like even, for example, I was actually joking with Sagar this afternoon. He said, like, I'm going to buy a home in Mumbai, and I said, like, man, it's going to be expensive, and you need to plan really well. And I'm actually connecting this Blueprint with his analogy of buying a home. And I said, like, if you have to buy a home, you need to think about who are the right architects, what is the right blueprint for your house, and are they really having a good history of building these houses in Mumbai? Because there's so much to worry about before you can even build, because there's so much regulations you need to take care of. And then, are they going to finish this house on time because you just got married and your wife, they need a new home, and are they going to finish on time? And that's actually the agility part. And then I said, like, but if you want to live in a community where you have friendly people around you, then you need to think about where you're actually going to build the house. So I was actually comparing this Blueprint with building his home. And actually, if you want more details, we can actually give you, at the end of the session, we have some resources that actually will point you in the right direction of how to get there. So, Sagar, now that we have defined it, how do you identify this value?
Let's see how some of the organizations are identifying value now. It all starts from identifying a champion in your organization. So what is a Tableau champion? It is someone in your organization who has an expertise in business as well as your Tableau. He is someone who will make sure you are following best practices in an organization. So Sudarshan, you want to add something? You are a Tableau champion at Cisco.
Yeah, I have my champion right here in the room, Ben Torgerson. He used to work at Cisco with me for a long time, and he actually was the champion, sole champion at the time, and we have to go and find more people like Ben. And one of the ways we did was we organized office hours to just begin with, the small office hours once a week, and with like-minded people, and we used to invite them to come to the office hours. And once they come to the office hours and they used to start sharing, ask questions, and based on the questions they used to ask, we used to say, okay, they are very similar like us. They are also facing problems. They are not able to solve their own data issues. So why don't we actually come together as a group? And we started that champion identification program where we actually identified champions from different parts of the company. And we said, like, let's all meet on a regular basis. And we can actually create a small center of excellence for Tableau. And Ben actually put together a nice portal where we actually have all these champions listed, and we have all the architecture or the environment, what kind of servers we are supporting. All of the details are completely documented on the portal. And that's how we were able to educate those like-minded people and empower them with information so that they can go and help their individual departments, because we don't want to be the bottleneck for all these thousands of people across the company, and we can't scale. So we have to nurture them, and we have to empower them with information so that they can go and help.
The next step comes, it's all about identifying the use cases which has an impact to your business in terms of financial ROI or non-financial ROI. It can be a time saving or a cost saving. Work with your Tableau champions to identify the use cases which impacts the business or maybe change the way they are making their decision.
Also, very important thing is to identify the right metrics that will actually that can measure the impact that is having on your organization. Unless you have metrics defined very well, and also you have the right metric stewards, like who actually define the metric itself. You need to have those right people from the business areas who understands that metric very well. Metric definitions are key, and we used to have like CDL kind of library where we actually document all those metrics and the definition and who is the owner of that metric as well. So that anybody, when they're looking on a dashboard, they look at a particular metric, for example, bookings number, they're looking at bookings, but you don't know how it's calculated. The number might be showing something, but how do you know that metric calculation is the right formula that they're using? So when you click on it, we actually have a tooltip, which actually has a link. It's very easy to implement in Tableau. Just have a simple link to the CDL, which is the data library. And once you go there, when you're clicking on a particular metric, it actually takes you to the exact page for that metric definition. And you know who is the data steward for that, who is the business owner for that metric, and what is the calculation behind the metric. So it's very critical for you to understand if the metric is the right metric for you to show on your dashboard. Because a lot of times, the C-level folks keep getting different dashboards from different parts of the company, and the numbers are not really matching. Or sometimes the numbers match, but the calculation behind it is not matching. So you have to make sure you define the right metrics and document it.
That's great. You can go ahead and define the metrics, but how exactly you can go ahead and capture the value about it? Let's understand like some of the organizations are doing right now. It all starts from the simple question about why. What we call it is collecting sound bites. Go ahead, talk to your business users, and just ask them, why are they using Tableau? Is it just to go ahead and replicate what they're doing in Excel, or they are going ahead and making some decision making with respect to that? Or it can be about.
So I think soundbite is one example that we use, but there are several ways to also capture. And one of the ways I do at my accounts is I actually send a use case template. It's a one-pager use case template that can provide the before and after using Tableau and what is the impact that is having on their business. So we do a kind of a survey to collect that information, and then we actually translate that into insights, which I'm going to talk about in the next section. But I use the survey forms to collect that input from the users.
The next step comes all about capturing the right metrics. It can be about with respect to financial and non-financial ROI, like time saving and cost saving.
And also, I said like documenting metrics is very important, but also once you collect those metrics, review them. And I feel that you should review the metrics with the right people who understands the business. And I was from IT, but I would admit here that business knows business better than IT, right? Do you all agree? Right? And IT should be empowering the business users to run their business. And that is, I think that is the primary job of IT, to empower them with the right tools and right platform with the right security and governance, and then let business do their job, right? So review the metrics on a regular basis. Make sure it's relevant for your business, because your business models might be changing rapidly. And the metric which was defined earlier may not be relevant anymore. So you need to keep reviewing those metrics, just like I was talking about the strategy, the BI strategy should be revisited on a regular basis. You need to also review your metrics and make sure it's relevant for your business.
Let's give some of the tools which you can start using right now. The first is a soundbite template. It can be a simple Google form. You can go ahead and capture all the information with respect to your Tableau. Just ask a simple question: why Tableau? What exactly you are doing with it? Or
I also use this particular survey. It's a real example of what I do with most of my customers. This survey goes to all the users who are actually using Tableau and having an impact on their organization. And this particular survey, I actually give it to them at different places. Like I can do a Tableau day, or I can be giving this in office hours. Wherever I actually meet the users, the first thing I give is a use case template where they can go and fill the information. As you can see, the before and after impact that they're having with Tableau. And also the questions around impact, if you see the cost savings, the revenue, and how many users are actually using this particular use case that they have. And once I have all this captured from different parts of the organization, I actually create something very, very useful. I'm going to show that example as well, Sagar. So now that we have defined, identified, and captured, we'll also talk about how do we measure it. So make sure when you're taking this into consideration, make sure you are getting maximum benefits with lower costs. So let me dive into some of the examples that I have for measuring. So as you have seen, the surveys that I've used for use case collection actually translate like this at the end of the day.
Is it built in Tableau?
Of course, Sagar. What else can I use? This is Tableau, and as you can see, the tree map on the left side denotes different business units within the organization and their use cases. And these are like interactive dashboards. So when you come to this dashboard, you can click on any particular use case, and it actually takes into the details, which talks about what impact this particular use case is having on the organization, and who is actually providing the use case, how many users that it touched, and what are the data sources that it's touching. And all of that good information will be shown in the details. And this can be built based out of a Google Sheet or whatever system you have. You can even push into your own database the data that you collect from survey. And in my case, I've used JotForm, which is actually putting my data back into Google Sheet. And Google Sheet, I'm actually connecting Tableau to Google Sheet live. So when the user is providing the survey, it goes into Google Sheet. comes into my dashboard. So it's getting updated without me touching it. And I can get this feedback on a quarterly basis, or every event that I do with the customer, I can actually go and collect that feedback. So within your organization, you might be having several community events or user groups that you are doing. You should be, if you're part of IT or within your business team, you want to understand how they're using, I would recommend doing something like that. And after this session, you can also contact us. We'll help you with those templates. Okay.
Yep.
So I want to actually ask each of you in this room a question on how can we track the desktop usage from your Tableau server? Anybody in the crowd?
There's admin information that shows views and by workbook and view and the data source as well.
Mm-hmm.
See how people are using it or not as it is used.
Okay, that's one way.
You can have Tableau Desktop log into the server and identify this user launched it at this time, make sure people are actually using the tool to create analytics.
There you go. I think we have some experts in the room answering some of these questions. That's great, man. So let me show you one of the ways that I use for measuring. I call it shelfware analysis. Shelfware term is not a bad term, but it's reality. That's what happens. Most of us think like we bought these licenses and we're going to use these licenses for all our work, and you won't realize many times you will give these licenses to people thinking that they will use, because they come to you and ask for, like, hey, I need a desktop license, and we give it to them, and after 60 days you go and see like they have never even opened desktop even once. So we are actually giving some tools, like Ben just said that he's going to go and push the desktop usage into server. One of the ways we have built into the product, this is part of your Tableau server by the way, it is already there, and you can enable it too. And it's called desktop reporting. I will go in details on each one of them. So desktop reporting is one way. The other way is server usage metrics, which you can collect on a quarterly basis, and it actually measures the active usage and also the number of clicks the users are really doing. So not just logging into the server, doesn't matter. You can have thousands of users log into the server, but if they don't do the interactivity, there's no load or there's no usage. And the third one is also everyone has access to your portal. So we will talk in each one in detail. So this is a screenshot that I've taken from Tableau server, and this is called desktop reporting feature. This feature is enabled when the admins of IT actually push the registry entry of the server into each individual user's laptops. Whether if it's a Mac, it's a plist file. If it's a Windows machine, then it's a registry entry. Once this entry goes into a registry, every time you open the desktop, it actually writes an entry into Tableau server, Postgres. And this particular admin view is built into Tableau server already. So this report shows how many users in the last 60 days have not even opened. And some companies, they tackle this problem in different ways. Like usually they say, okay, 60 days, you haven't opened, so we send you a warning email saying, okay, we'll give you 30 more days. If you don't really open desktop and use it, we'll reclaim the license key. And that way, I can actually make sure that whatever licenses we have bought are put into use. And we don't want to just keep it on the shelf, right? So desktop reporting is already there with you guys, and you can always use it. Work with your IT team if you are not familiar with it, and make sure you use this to reduce your shelfware.
That's a great advice, Sudarshan. Or what you can do, you can go ahead and run the server weekly usage report. So this particular report connects to your Postgres data, and it gives you the number of users on your Tableau server, top 10 dashboards, the number of unique clicks. It helps you to understand the health of your Tableau server and helps to understand what value you're getting out of it. I will recommend everyone to contact your account executive or customer success manager to get help on that.
Also, there is a way to get that usage numbers from your customer portal. How many of you in the room have access to customer portal? I think most of you have it. If you don't, you can always talk to your administrator who has access to the customer portal, and you can get access to it. And there is a report that actually lets you download the keys that have been activated. And you'll be surprised, most of the times you will think that every key that we bought is being assigned to somebody. And most of the times we see like people leave the company, they may not deactivate the key. Or you have assigned somebody, but that person is not using. Or there'll be keys with null assignments. There's no assigned person. And you should be looking at the customer portal on a regular basis so that you know what keys are still available, because you'll be getting questions from people like, hey, we need licenses, and you'll say, oh, we don't have enough licenses. So you can always look at the customer portal and run that key report, and then you can download that and open it in Tableau Desktop. You can build a nice dashboard on top of that, and you can automate it using a script.
But it's all done and said. As it is said, the communication is the key to success. If you're not communicating value, you can't do much about it. Let's understand how you can communicate value now. The first step comes about doing a quarterly business review. In this particular meeting, have a discussion with the sponsor of Tableau in your organization. Help him to understand what value you're getting out of Tableau. You can go ahead and present the dashboard which Sudarshan showed to you. It will help him to understand what are the financial and non-financial gain he's getting out of this particular deployment.
You know, that's a good point. QBRs, you might sound like, okay, this is for all the C-level folks. You know, I don't need to be part of the QBR. But I actually run these QBRs on a regular basis. Every quarter I run these QBRs. And the people who attend the QBRs are actually the people who are actually doing the work, like the admins and the platform teams. And we also have a sponsor, executive sponsor, that could be from business side or from the IT side. And they also attend the QBRs to understand what is the impact that they're having. And also from a Tableau perspective, we also bring them like people from our dev, people from our support organization, and people from our services side who are actually helping the community within your organization to that QBR so that they can listen to the executives or to the admins who are actually using the deployment every single day. And we have seen tremendous impact of doing these QBRs on the adoption. Once we started doing QBR, we knew that the adoption is either going down or going up. It could be bad news or good news, right? But we need to know what that is. So please work with your account managers, or if you already have a CSM, Customer Success Manager, for your account, work with them and make sure they actually have something like this for you guys as well, because this is very key. And then Tableau Days. How many of you are familiar with Tableau Day? Okay, still some of you are not familiar. So the Tableau Day could be a half-a-day session or a day session, but it's all about, for me, it's like celebration. Celebration of how you're actually using Tableau and actually recognizing your fellow coworkers who are actually doing something. Where we actually bring people from different parts of the company who are actually using Tableau in the right way and have some good use cases to share with others. I actually do with all my accounts on a regular basis, and it's so much fun. In Tableau Days, the power users come and present their stories, and then we also have some whiz game competitions, things like that. And the way we actually use Tableau Day as a tool to communicate is by letting your champions come and present and inspire people within the organization on, okay, if they can do it, we can do it too, right? And we have seen the impact of the Tableau Day. The first quarter, these 4 champions come and present, and the next quarter, I get so many people that say, hey, I want to present next time. I want to show what I'm doing. And the Whiz Games competition that we actually also make part of the Tableau Day, we have seen people who learn, like 2 weeks ago, they come and participate in Whiz Games with people who are using Tableau for the last 5 years. And we have seen some amazing, amazing talent that comes out. And we'll be surprised to see, like, oh, okay, this person, I never thought that they're good, so good in visualization. And they actually come up with some great stories. So it's a way to identify your talent as well within your company. So make use of these kind of tools to communicate as well as identify people.
How many in the rooms have an internal knowledge portal of Tableau in your organization? Just raise your hands. That's great. That can be also a great way to communicate value. Go ahead and document what exactly you're getting out of your Tableau and share it with the community. It will inspire them and challenge them to go ahead and try something new in Tableau.
Lastly, but not the least, this is the most important one, the Tableau user groups. Many of you might be thinking, why it has to be just Tableau user group? It could be BI group or any community user group. And you can have any name for that. I'm just, because we are here at Tableau conference, I just said a Tableau user group. But have that user group to share our knowledge, to share our experiences, whether it's good or bad. If it is a bad experience, you can also share that and learn from others how they are doing. Because I've seen, like, many of my customers are decentralized. You understand what I mean by decentralized. So they don't even know each other. They don't know that there is a deployment in this particular organization that is getting used. And without even knowing, we might have a duplicate environment started here, and they are all working in silos. And once we have a community, you can bring those silos together, and then they might come up and say, hey, let's not even duplicate this effort. Let's have one consolidated platform, and let's all work together as one team. So communication through user groups, I've seen, is very, very effective. And some of the things, like, I don't know if you have heard, like Makeover Mondays. Anybody who does Makeover Mondays? Yeah, few of you. Yeah, that's great. Actually, Makeover Mondays are great, and it's a data set that is published globally. Anybody can just go download. You want to share your experience on Makeover? Yeah, absolutely. I've seen, like, customers really come out with some great stories with Makeover Monday data. The data set is same for everyone, but the stories that they build is different from different person to person. It varies, and they come out with some great stories, motivation, very, very inspiring for others in the organization. So I would definitely encourage you guys to think about user groups. And if you don't have one, we'll certainly help you with that. Like, you can reach out to your account manager or the CSM, and we have a template, we have a framework of how to even create a user group, and we can help you build one, and we can drive that along with you.
Okay.
So the fun part now.
Yes, let's see how many of you are paying attention today.
So let's show what prizes are there.
Oh, we have some swag for you guys. So we have 4 questions, and let's see. And we have a mic, so.
So Catherine, right there, she's our CSM manager, and she's going to help us with the mic. So whoever gets the answer first will get the prize. So let's see.
So are you guys ready? Okay, so the first question.
So name the 5 pillars of documenting value.
Oh.
Raise of hand. Who raised it first? I think that's her. I think she raised it.
Yeah. Define, identify, capture, measure, and communicate.
Wow, that's great.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm impressed.
Let's give it a good one. That a rock star?
Okay, the second one, everyone.
Name the 2 ways to measure shelfware.
Okay, over there, the white.
That one, far
White.
end, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think people are paying attention.
I
That's good.
Desktop reporting and server usage.
Oh, that's right.
Perfect.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's a big one. The next two are tough.
Let's see. I think our audience are really amazing. I think they're following every single thing. They will get this answer.
Okay.
So, oh man, don't raise yet. We'll track who's raising after I finish asking the question. So, let's see. Catherine, we need to watch them.
Yeah.
Okay. Name the Tableau community which Sagar runs in India.
Oh, over there. Wow.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, everyone. The last question.
I want to see if anybody raised a motion. Already raised. Guys, you stumped
Wow.
us.
So what
I
is
thought this one, nobody will get it, but
so what is the name of Sudarshan's hometown in India?
Is it Visage? V-I-Z-A-G?
yeah, it's pronounced, is the spelled correctly? V-I-Z-A-G, but it's called Vizag.
Vizag,
Yeah.
yeah.
But still, you got it right.
Good
So
one.
if you're watching, man, this is the tough one. Wow, good job. Yeah, I'm from this place called Vizag. I didn't even realize like there's Viz in my town. And I think somebody told me in my last year's presentation that why don't you use that keyword Viz in your town? So we made that as a quiz question. So that's great. Thank you so much for participating in this. So let's just summarize what we have learned before we actually go into the next topic. We just want to summarize what we have learned. So the 5 pillars of documenting value, I think all of you got those. So the most important one is identifying, capturing, measuring, and communicating. So that's what we learned. I hope everyone is clear on this.
The most important part is you should have a strong governance model for your business and IT stakeholders. It will help you to realize the value out of your Tableau deployment.
And we also learned different ways of capturing value and using different jot forms and surveys.
Identify the metrics and review them on a regularly basis. That's the key to your success with respect to Tableau deployment.
And we also learned about shelfware analysis, where we actually be able to measure through desktop reporting or customer portal or the usage metrics, right? I hope you all remember that.
The last one is about performance with respect to your server health checkup. You have to make sure you're doing a regular checkup of your Tableau server so that it has less impact to your business.
So before we go into what's next, any feedback for us or any questions that you want to ask right at this time?
If you put your hand up, I'll come to you with a mic.
Yep.
My question is with the desktop usage in doing the registry, is that strictly for server or the subscription model, or does it actually work with on-prem as well?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Let me just go there. So this desktop reporting feature is, has to be enabled by your server admins to begin with. So it's not by default, so you can just go and enable that feature. Once the IT admins enable that feature, you can implement this solution in different ways. One is you can have a master key. The master key is like the key for the entire company, and you actually have a package installer so that when users want to have a desktop license, instead of like just having a key for every user, they will just go to the portal, the COE portal, wherever you have, and you say, give me a desktop key. That actually lets you download a package, and when you install the package, it actually hides the key. There's no key visible, and it installs the package on your laptop, and it adds it into the registry, the Tableau server URL into the registry. So after that, when you open the Tableau desktop every time, it actually pings the Tableau server, and writes it into the Postgres. And the custom admin view, what you're seeing here, is actually pointing to Postgres table. And that's how you get this information. And one of the things you need to remember is desktop reporting, it does not save the history of the user's login. So if you're logging in 5 times a day, it captures the last one. So it always overwrites. So it'll always show you when is the last time you logged in. If you're logged in like 60 days ago, that means you're not even using the desktop very well. So we can take an action based on that. Does that answer your question? Okay. Yeah, if you're on part of the IT team, then this is the steps to take to implement this package here.
Can you tell me how, if there is any way, users are noted if they are getting my subscriptions? Is
Okay.
that counted in some way?
So the subscriptions are also, again, everything what you do on Tableau server is documented within the Postgres database. So there's a view, there's a table that actually captures the subscriptions, and you can go and make your dashboards, and you can count how many subscriptions are sent for that particular day, and how many users have received this. But you cannot tell if the person who received the subscription even actually clicked the subscription, because that goes to a personal email, and they may not have clicked it. So you don't know if they're really using it. Mm-hmm.
Is there any way to access the Postgres information for Tableau server so you can make customizable metrics within server?
So I'll tell you my experience with some of our customers. Sometimes, the IT admins would not be very open to give this access to everybody. They have a read-only user in Postgres, which you can safely give it. But what happens is if people start writing dashboards pointing to your Postgres live and hitting on a regular basis, that actually puts load on the server. And because it's transactional in nature, everything what you do in Tableau server is actually returned to the Postgres live. And you're actually hitting the same live database with so many users. If I'm giving read-only to everyone, that's going to be impactful. So how some of the customers have handled this situation is by backing up the Postgres on a regular basis. So I know one of my social media companies, they actually back up every 30 minutes. Every 30 minutes, there's an incremental backup of the Postgres, and not everything. Postgres is huge. There's so many tables out there, but you just want to identify the tables that are really useful for your admin views. Just back up those tables on a regular basis, incrementally, and then have your admin views, the custom admin views, what you want to build for users, point to that database, which could be more performant, or it could be in-memory database, whatever you have. And then you can have those reports there. Mm-hmm.
And if you want to cheat and not build your own, go to Matt Coles' session or watch it on TC Live.
The next questions we can take after a session, maybe.
We just want to finish.
Just wrap it up, yeah.
And then we'll stay here with you, and we'll have a lot of conversations, yeah?
So let's understand what's next for you guys. Go ahead, work with your account executive and a customer success manager to go complete the blueprint planner. It will help you to go ahead and define your value with respect to your Tableau deployment.
And also, there is an assessment that we can all take. And again, the CSM can send you the assessment to you, or they can also sit with you, and they can finish the assessment, where we can actually identify what are some of the challenges that we have today within our environment, and where we should be actually focusing on. Some of the companies I've worked, they're large companies, and they've been using for a long time. They feel that, oh, we have everything, we have covered everything. And then when we did the assessment, we found that there are some areas where they're very weak. Like I found, for example, community. They didn't have a community, and they don't know how to even go ahead and reach out to the people in their company. Even though they have huge number of licenses, they're using Tableau every day, but they don't share. So that's where the assessment will tell them, like, hey, you are only 40% in terms of community. Or education. They may not have any kind of training programs at all. They give it and do it yourself. It's called DIY analytics strategy. Do it yourself, and they'll forget. Once they give the license key, okay, you're on your own. That's not going to scale. That's not going to work for you. And that's where many companies are failing to scale. Even though it's self-service, they call it self-service, and it's proven by that survey that McKinsey has done, it's proven that they don't have a good strategy to drive that adoption and document value because they don't have this kind of an assessment done to identify where they lack. Okay? Make sure you do that. And I also mentioned Tableau days where I actually conduct something called the value booth. I call it value booth. And what a value booth is really mean is, okay, by the way, you can all open your mobile phones and just point your camera to this code, and you can see what it looks like. Okay? So the value booth, I open it during the Tableau day and say, hey, why don't you open this form and tell us your story? Right? Before you have started the Tableau journey, what you are doing and what you are doing now, and what is the impact you're having. And we can actually bring back all these use cases as collected as part of that value booth, and we'll show, aggregate that at a BU level, and then show, hey, your department has 20 use cases, and this is the value, and they have like 10 projects, out of which 5 of them already realized the value, and 5 of them are in pipeline. And this is the cost savings, or this is the productivity gains you have. And we can give that complete summary, and we can create a nice PowerPoint deck. If they want to present that to their management, we can send that back. And I use this value booth, and I want to see if you guys want to try it out as well. I can give you like 5 minutes to look at the form and understand. And if you have any questions on that form, I will also be able to answer those. It's, if you are not comfortable doing right now, we can also do it later after the session. But there are other sessions also going today, which I would highly encourage you guys to attend if you have time. And one of the sessions is Visualize a Better World with Data and Analytics by Jeremy. And also our famous Viz Games session, like I was talking about in Tableau Day, we do the Viz Games. We were going to talk about how do we actually run a Viz game. And if you're interested, please attend that to learn some of the ways that you can actually use to run a Viz Games competition. And with that, we want to really thank you guys. This is our information. You can always reach out. But before we end it, like Sagar has a way, we can all stay in touch. And we found like this is very interesting. We did this yesterday. We thought we would also share with you.
Okay, so everyone open the LinkedIn app in your mobile phone
LinkedIn,
if
yeah.
you have.
It'll be really cool, actually.
Okay, you got that? The next step, you want to click it on the users over here, down here.
Click on My Network, and make sure your Bluetooth is on, because if there's no Bluetooth on, we cannot find the people around you. But when you click on My Network, it'll actually show you a button on the right-hand side, bottom corner, and then click on the plus sign.
Click on that particular button, and then click on Find Nearby.
You'll find us, and you can also connect with us, or you can connect with like-minded people around you. So this is a technique you can use anytime you're going to a conference, you want to be if you're doing a brain date or something with people on the same table, you can just simply connect. So I didn't know either before coming to this conference. I just found out during the conference, so we thought it's a fun thing to share with.
That's a TC tip for you guys. Go ahead, connect with everyone. And the last but not the least, go ahead and please complete the evaluation survey. Give us a feedback, what you love about your session, how we can improve it. We'll love to hear about it.
And we'll be here in the room, and we can ask lots of questions. We'll take the mic around, and you can sit in the place where you are, and we will come to you. But we can chat about it and ask questions. So let's start. Like whoever has a question, go ahead and ask, and we will come to you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
But before that, we are, by the way, hiring. Thank you.